Jason, why should estate agents use SDL for their auction properties? Talk to me.
The main reason why they should use an auction company with regards to providing a service for them is it's to diversify what they're doing. Sometimes an estate agent falls into a trait where they'll just go to stereotype. For example, if you go into a pub and you don't want an alcoholic drink, you'll usually get a Coke because that's what you always default to. And it's similar with agents as well. They will always default to private treaty. Private treaty is not always the best way of selling a property. And if you look at the Estate Agency Act 1979, it actually states that if you're offering a property for sale, all avenues of sale must be made open to that client. So there are certain needs and requirements for that customer to use an auction service to benefit them.
But surely auction properties, when I was in a estate agency, it was basically the stuff that you couldn't sell or repos.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge misconception, really. And if you go back to when it all crashed in 2008, wasn't it? For the next 2, 3, 4 years, that was really what was happening with that type of property, because it was a case of let's offload it as quickly as we can, as easy as possible, etc., and limit the loss that people were making, etc.
I mean, what are the advantages for taking a property to auction? Because I was always understood that the client selling the property will get 10-20% less.
Yeah, and again, it's a misconception because selling via auction is the only way that you kind of guarantee that you're going to get the best price, because it's done under a transparent process where everybody knows what everybody else is bidding. For example, if you're selling via private treaty, you can never disclose what offer has been made on a property. Via this way, whether it be in a room, whether it be online, the clients are always involved in where the bid is. Very, very similar to eBay. You get a notification when you've been outbid, etc., and where the price is along those lines.
It's funny how we're used to eBay, and I mean, I'm into collecting antiques and think nothing of bidding online, but we don't seem to bid for properties, do we?
Yeah, it is a strange thing, and on some of the training sessions which I do with some of my agents, I always ask them who's bought or sold anything under the hammer, and very, very rarely anybody actually goes, yes, I have. But then if I turn around and say, well, have you bought or sold anything from eBay? Well, yeah, of course I have, because eBay has become part of normal life and it's kind of filtered into that. Whereas with property auctions, it's not quite broken that trend yet, because everybody thinks it is a specialist way, but it's no different.
Okay, so what type of auctions do SDL do then? Is it just some bloke in the room with a hammer?
No, I mean, we do that, obviously. Our live rooms are growing across the Midlands. We've got we've got the biggest auctions in the East Midlands and the West Midlands at the moment. So they're growing and growing and growing. So a traditional room is where we would have the chap at the front with the gavel taking the bids, etc., and we're doing 40 of those every year. But we also do online auctions as well, as we've just been discussing. So properties are available to view, bid and buy immediately.
Is that what they call the modern method?
Yeah, modern method. I mean,
what a strange name that is.
Yeah, it was invented probably about 17 years ago by a chap in the northeast, Keith Patterson, actually, and he brought it in because he wanted to bring auctions to the whole market. Because if we take a ballroom auction where there is an auctioneer at the front of it, it's usually 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. The only people that are going to attend those auctions are the people that are in the industry, looking for that deal, looking at flipping them, looking for those cheap deals, whereas most people, 11 o'clock on a Wednesday, are hard at work earning the money to pay the mortgage, etc. So what it does with the modern method, the online auctions, etc., it brings the whole market into auction.
Can you combine both, where they do with antiques, where they have someone in the room with a hammer, but you also have online as well?
Absolutely, yeah. All of our live rooms are filmed live as well, so people can view, bid and buy, etc. There is no difference whether it be in a room or whether it be online. There are a couple of different tweaks with regards to the type of auction. The modern method, which is more commonly known as a conditional auction, and the room auctions are generally known as a traditional auction. The only difference in the two is the timescales of the purchasing, etc. But the whole process is exactly the same.
What makes SDL different to other online, white label auction sites, because there's a few of you out there at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good market out there, and there's some really, really good auction houses out there, and we try and think that we go one step further with our agents. We try and take control and assist them and support them all the way through the process, because
what does that look like to an agent watching this?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the easiest way of describing it is, if we look at with regards to mortgages, if somebody wandered into an estate agent's office and said, "I want to buy that house on the window, but I need £100,000 worth of mortgage," I'm pretty sure that the negotiator wouldn't say, "I know that HSBC have got a discounted rate for 2 years and it goes onto a flexible tracker of blah blah blah, etc." What they would do is take that information and pass it on to that person, their mortgage advisor, their mortgage broker that is the expert in that field. That's exactly what we do with this as well. So we become a part of that team, a part of that agency. So bringing trained, experienced, knowledgeable staff into their office without the cost of obviously having to employ them.
So what does that actually look like then? Because let's be honest, there's plenty of suppliers out there that say, "I'll train your staff and motivate them," and then you never see them from.
Yeah. We do regular visits to our branches. We're constantly in contact with them, with both our internal team and a band of business development managers out there in the field, which go along. Most of those are experienced in agency as well. Most of them have worked within agency, whether it be a valuer, branch manager, etc. So we've got some really, really good staff, because it's key to knowing what an agent is kind of thinking and wanting prior to actually going through that door as well, because you need to assist them.
Do you often find that it just, when you've almost proved yourself on the first one, it opens a floodgate up?
Yeah, it is a really good point, because we see it as a really, really simple process. But like most things, sometimes it gets a little bit overcomplicated. And I would say that one of the big things in our industry at the moment is everybody's trying to find the next bit of prop tech. And prop tech is all fantastic, but this is a fantastic bit of prop tech as well. And it's going right back to the basics, right back to the beginning, and showing a different way of doing it. So what we try and do is identify the client's need, as opposed to the property. The property to some stage is irrelevant. It's all to do with the client.
Property's irrelevant?
Yeah. It could be
it's just for holes, isn't it?
No. I mean, it could be a one-bedroom rundown hole, as you said, or it could be a 12-bedroom mansion in acreage, etc. If that client is looking for a speedy, secure sale, this is the route to go down.
Doesn't that affect the price they get though?
No, not at all, because it's out there in the open market. It's being marketed in exactly the same way that a normal private treaty would be. So they're still doing the viewings, they're still getting the right people through it. It's just the different process of sale. So it's eliminating gazumping. It's eliminating the fall-throughs, because we've got less than a 1% fall-through rate by selling it this way. And I think across the board at the moment, it's around about 40% in the country.
And what sort of fees can agents earn from this?
Well, we've got an income calculator on our site, which people can literally put in how many they think that they would be able to send through to us, and it calculates it. But on average, an agent sending through 2 referrals to us each month, on average, would earn about £50,000 per annum just in referral fees.
Well, that'll make up the tenant fee ban loss, won't it?
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, Jason, over the next few videos, I'd like to go into a lot more detail, talking about the popular misconceptions of auctions, where agents, the mistakes they make, the 4 different types of auction. And if you don't mind, we'll have a look at those. I've not been paid a penny to do this video. It's just that I've known Jason for an awful long time. I've known SDL. There's an awful lot of my clients use them, and he lives in Grantham, so I asked him to the studios just to have a chat. And Jason, it's been emotional. Thank you very much.
Love
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.